My name is Marcus Almeida, I'm 32 years old, and this is a story I never thought I'd tell, because for a long time, it wasn't a story. It was a wound, an open one that never seemed to heal, no matter how much time passed. But maybe if I tell it, someone else out there might feel a little less broken. It was a Thursday night when the phone rang. I still remember the sound. It wasn't any different than usual, just a sharp vibration on the kitchen counter. But something in my chest tightened the second I saw the caller ID, May. My mother never called me after 10 p.m. Never. "Oi, May," I said, trying to sound casual. "What's wrong?" Her voice cracked. "Marcus." "Oh, Tiago." "Tiago. My younger brother. 2 years younger. A headache when we were kids, a best friend as we grew older. The kind of guy who could make anyone laugh, even when they didn't want to. He was working late shifts at the gas station, not glamorous, but honest work. He's been shot," she said, barely whispering. "During a robbery. They took him to the hospital. But the rest blurred. Whinies gave out." I sat right there on the kitchen floor, staring at the fridge like it might offer answers. Shot, robbery, hospital. But echoed louder than anything else. By the time I reached the hospital, he was already gone. I remember standing in the fluorescent-lit hallway, arms stiff at my sides, as a nurse explained something I couldn't process. My mother was sobbing against my father's shoulder. The world around me felt wrong, like I'd walked into the wrong movie, the wrong life. "Can I see him?" I asked. The nurse nodded, then hesitated. It's hard to see." "Are you sure?" "No." I wasn't sure about anything. But I nodded anyway. They led me into a small, cold room. Tiago lay on the table, pale and still, with a sheet pulled halfway up his chest. There was blood near his collarbone, already dried. I walked up to him, reached out a trembling hand, and touched his forehead. "Cold, lifeless. I'm so sorry, Mano," I whispered. "I should have protected you." The police told us they had a suspect. A 17-year-old boy named Elias Rocha. No prior record. No gang ties, just a kid from a favela who'd walked into the gas station with a stolen gun and pulled the trigger when Tiago didn't open the register fast enough. A mistake, the officer called it. Panic. Fear. He ran right after. A mistake? My brother was dead, and they wanted me to understand that it was just a mistake? I clenched my fists so hard that my nails dug into my palms. I couldn't even cry, I was too full of rage. Over the next few weeks, I lost myself. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Tiago's face, smiling one second, lifeless the next. I started going to the gas station at night, just sitting there in my car, staring at the place where he died. One night, a friend tried to talk to me. "Marcus," she said gently, "this isn't healthy." "What do you want me to do, Luisa? Forget? Move on? Pretend like nothing happened?" "No," she said quietly. "But hating him won't bring Tiago back." I looked at her, eyes burning. "I don't want him back. I want justice." And that's where it started. The obsession, the need to see Elias punished. I went to every court hearing. I watched him walk in, head down, face pale. He looked small, scared, and every time I saw him, something inside me twisted. Part of me wanted to scream at him, another part wanted to know why. But I wasn't ready to ask, not yet. Not while Tiago's voice still echoed in my head every night. I started going to the hearings like it was my job. Twice a week, I sat in the back row of that cold courtroom, watching Elias Rocha like a hawk. He never looked up. His lawyer, some overworked public defender, always answered for him. He barely spoke. His mother sometimes came, sitting alone, clutching a cross. I hated her, too, irrationally. But I did. The prosecutor built the case: robbery, unlawful possession of a weapon, manslaughter. Not premeditated. No intent to kill. They kept calling it a tragedy. I wanted to scream every time I heard that word. Tragedy? No. A choice was made. He chose to hold a gun, he chose to walk into my brother's work. He chose to pull the trigger. That wasn't fate, that was his hand on the weapon, his finger on the trigger. One night, I snapped. After another long day in court, I sat in my car in the parking lot for almost an hour. I didn't want to go home. My apartment felt empty. My mind kept replaying Tiago's laugh, that stupid, contagious laugh of his. When I finally walked in, I found Luisa sitting on my couch. She'd let herself in with the spare key. "You need to stop this," she said softly. I dropped my bag on the floor. "Stop what? Wanting justice?" "No, Marcus. You're not chasing justice anymore. You're chasing blood." I laughed bitterly. "Don't act like you know how I feel." "I don't," she admitted. "But I know what I see. You're not sleeping. You're angry all the time. You don't work. You just circle the pain, again and again." I sat down across from her. "What do you want me to do, Lou? Pretend like it's okay? Like Tiago's death was just some chapter one can close?" She looked down. "Maybe not close it. But you have to live something beyond it." I didn't reply. I didn't know how. A week later, Elias's lawyer requested a sentence mitigation hearing. He'd agreed to plead guilty, there would be no full trial. I was furious. "He's getting a deal?" I asked the prosecutor. "After what he did?" "This isn't about letting him off easy," she said. "He'll still serve time. Probably 10 years. But if we avoid trial, your family doesn't have to relive everything in court." "I want him to relive it," I said coldly. "Every damn moment." The night before the hearing, I found myself in front of Tiago's grave for the first time since the funeral. I brought a beer, his favorite, something cheap and sugary. I sat down in the grass, cracked it open, and held it in the air. "To you, Mano," I said. "I'm trying to do right by you." The wind was soft. A bird chirped somewhere behind me. I sat there in silence until it got dark, staring at the carved letters of his name. The ache in my chest never eased. But something shifted. For the first time, I wasn't just angry. I was tired. Back at home, I found an envelope on my doormat. No return address. Inside was a folded piece of paper. It was a letter, handwritten. "Mr. Almeida, I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect forgiveness, but I need you to know, I'm sorry. I didn't go there to kill your brother. I was scared, I messed up, I ruined everything. I wish it had been me instead." Elias, I read it twice. Then I crumpled it, threw it in the trash, and turned off the light. The letter haunted me. Even after I threw it away, it stayed with me, every word, etched into the back of my mind like a tattoo I didn't ask for. I tried not to think about it, but at night, when the apartment got quiet and the city noise faded, I could still see it. His handwriting, the last line, "I wish it had been me instead." Good, I thought. I wished it had been him too. It was a rainy Monday morning when I saw her again, Elias's mother. I had gone to the courthouse early, too early. I didn't want to talk to anyone, didn't want to be part of the whispering crowd that always seemed to gather before hearings. So I went outside, to the side garden no one really used. And there she was, sitting alone on a concrete bench, holding a small plastic bag in her lap. She looked up at me. I almost turned and walked away. I didn't want to see her, I didn't want to feel anything. But something made me stay. "Mr. Almeida," she said, her voice fragile but clear. I nodded stiffly. She stood up slowly, like every bone in her body ached. "I'm sorry," she said. "I know I shouldn't talk to you. But I just wanted to say. I think about your brother every day." I clenched my jaw. "Thinking about him doesn't bring him back." "I know," she whispered. "It doesn't bring my son back either. The son I knew. The boy who used to cry when he stepped on a bug. I don't know who he became that night. I don't recognize that version of him. There was a silence, thick, uncomfortable. I looked at her, really looked. Her coat was too thin for the rain. Her eyes were tired. She wasn't the image I'd built in my head, some bitter, unrepentant mother defending her criminal son. She looked destroyed, like me. My brother was a good man, I said. I believe that, she replied, tears welling in her eyes. And nothing I say will change what happened. But I'm sorry. From the deepest part of my heart. I didn't know what to say. I wanted to scream at her. Tell her it wasn't enough, that nothing ever would be. But instead, I said, why did he write me that letter? She swallowed. He asked if he could. I told him I didn't think you'd want it. He said he needed to try. I sat on the bench, soaking wet now. She didn't sit beside me. She stood there, holding the bag in front of her like a peace offering. Then she said something I never expected. Would you ever be willing to talk to him? I looked up at her, stunned. Are you serious? I know how insane it sounds, she said quickly. But he's not okay. He barely eats. He prays every night. I'm not asking you to forgive him. Just speak to him. Even if it's to yell. He needs to hear it. I stood up, my heart pounding. I should hate you, I said. She nodded. You probably do. I don't know what I feel anymore, I muttered. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying our conversation over and over. Her eyes, her words, the way she said he's not okay, like she was describing a ghost. I thought about the boy who killed my brother. And for the first time, I thought about him not as a monster, but as a broken human being. It scared me. Walking into the prison felt like walking into my own nightmare. Everything was gray, the walls, the floor. Even the air felt colorless, like it had been filtered through grief. I sat in the visitor's room with my hands clenched so tightly my fingers went numb. My heart pounded like I was heading into a fight, and maybe I was. When they brought him in, I barely recognized him. Elias looked even younger than I remembered. Thinner, pale, his hands were trembling. He sat across from me, his eyes fixed on the table. Neither of us said anything for a moment. I broke the silence. So, this is what you wanted? His eyes flicked up, briefly, then back down. I didn't know if you'd come, he said softly. I didn't come for you, I snapped. I came because your mother asked me to. Don't get it twisted. He nodded. I understand. I stared at him, trying to see the killer. The monster I had built in my mind for months. But all I saw was a scared, broken kid in a uniform 2 sizes too big. Say it, I said. Say what you came here to say. He took a shaky breath. I'm sorry. That's it? I said, my voice rising. You think that's enough? You think I'm sorry covers what you did? No, he whispered. I don't. You shot him in the chest, I said, leaning forward. You left him there. To die. He was 27. He had dreams. A girlfriend. We were supposed to move in together. I was going to help him open a little gym. And now he's in the ground. I know, Elias said, voice barely audible. I see his face every time I close my eyes. Don't you dare, I hissed. Don't you dare pretend your pain is equal to mine. He didn't respond. The silence stretched, long and brutal. Finally, I asked the question that had haunted me from the start. Why did you do it? Elias swallowed hard. I didn't go there to kill anyone. I swear. I was desperate. My mom was behind on rent. I thought if I could get quick cash, just enough to buy time, maybe we could stay. I got the gun from a guy on the street. I didn't even think it would fire. But it did, I said coldly. It did fire. I panicked, he said, eyes wet now. He reached for something. I thought, I didn't mean to, I slammed my fist on the table. You did. You did mean to. Maybe not to kill, but you pulled the damn trigger. Tears rolled down his face, but I didn't feel sorry for him. Not yet. I wish it had been me, he said quietly. I stared at him. What? He looked up, meeting my eyes for the first time. I wish it had been me who died. Not your brother. He sounded like a good man. I wasn't. I was a coward. A stupid kid trying to fix things in the worst way possible. I felt something shift in me. Not forgiveness. Not even understanding, just exhaustion. I leaned back in the chair and rubbed my eyes. You ruined everything. I know, he said. When the guard came to end the visit, I stood slowly. I'm not saying I forgive you, I told him. I don't expect you to, he said. I turned to walk away, then paused. But I came. And maybe I'll come again. He nodded, said nothing, but I saw something in his eyes. Hope. And I hated how part of me didn't hate him as much as I wanted to. I didn't tell anyone I went to see Elias. Not my parents, not Louisa, not even my therapist, though by then, I had reluctantly started seeing one. It felt like something I wasn't ready to say out loud. Like if I told someone, it would break whatever strange, fragile thread had been tied between us in that prison room. But I kept going back. Once a month, then twice, our conversations stayed awkward, stilted, sometimes silent. But I started asking questions. About his life, about what led him to that night. About the friends he used to hang out with, the father who left when he was 6, the constant fear of eviction, hunger, and violence. I wasn't born a killer, he said one afternoon. I know, I admitted. But you still chose it. Yeah, he whispered. And I live with it every day. The second time I told Louisa, we were sitting on my couch. She was helping me go through Tiago's things, a box I had avoided for almost a year. Inside, his sketchbook, a worn hoodie, movie ticket stubs, and a list of ideas for a gym logo he never got to design. She picked up a photo of us, me and Tiago at the beach, covered in sand, holding beers and laughing. You two were really close, she said. Yeah, I nodded. He was the best part of me. She looked at me carefully. You've been different lately. Lighter, maybe. But also distant. What's going on? I hesitated, then I said it. I've been visiting Elias. She froze. You what? I've been talking to him. Just trying to understand. Her face twisted into something I couldn't quite name. Why would you do that? Because hating him was killing me, I said honestly. It was like dragging a corpse behind me every day. I wanted revenge. But it didn't bring peace. Talking to him. It's not peace either. But it's something else. Something more real. Louisa stood up, shaking her head. I don't know if I can understand that, she said. I don't need you to, I replied. But I needed to say it. When I told my parents, it went worse. My mother stared at me like I'd betrayed her. You're what? She whispered, her hands trembling. You're sitting across from the boy who took your brother from us, like it's some kind of therapy? I'm not befriending him, I said calmly. I'm facing what happened. Looking it in the eye. My father didn't speak at all. Just walked out of the room. Later, he texted me one word, why? I didn't reply for hours, then I wrote back, because it hurts less than hate. One night, I dreamt of Tiago. We were at the gas station, just like the night of the robbery. He was behind the counter, counting change. I stood across from him. You're late, he said, grinning. Again. I laughed. Sorry, traffic. He looked up, eyes serious now. You still carrying me like a stone, Mano? I'm trying to let go, I said. Then do it, he said. Or you'll drown. I woke up in tears. 2 weeks later, I went to the prison again. Elias looked tired. We sat in silence for a few minutes. Then I said it. I don't forgive you yet, I said. But I'm learning how. He looked stunned. Why would you even try? I shrugged. Because it's the only way I can keep my brother alive in me without turning him into a reason to hate the world. He lowered his eyes. If I ever get out, I'll never stop trying to make it right. You won't, I said. You can't. But you can be better. That's all you get. He nodded. I will. I swear. A year passed since the night I got the call. 12 months. 52 weeks. Countless moments of pain, rage, silence, and slow, brutal growth. By now, the court process was done. Elias had received his sentence, 10 years. The judge cited extraordinary remorse, a clean record, and his age. My family hated the outcome. Only 10 years, my father said with disgust. Your brother gets a casket. He gets a second chance. They weren't wrong, but they weren't right, either. Because what Elias was living with, that guilt, was a sentence in itself. I went to visit him one last time. I told myself it would be the final visit. The last chapter, closure, maybe it was all of that. Or maybe I just needed to speak the words out loud. We sat across from each other. He looked thinner, but clearer. Like he'd been slowly rebuilding himself from dust. How's your mom? I asked. She got a job. Night shifts at a bakery. It's hard. But she says it helps her sleep. I nodded. Good. There was a pause, the kind that once felt unbearable, but now just felt human. I didn't think you'd come again, he said. I almost didn't, I admitted. But I had to say something. He waited. I looked him in the eye. I forgive you. He froze. I could see the tension in his body shift, like a wall crumbling quietly inside him. I'm not saying what you did was okay. It wasn't. It never will be. You took my brother from me. Nothing changes that, I said. But I forgive you. Not for you. For me. So I can finally let Tiago rest. So I can stop waking up angry. Elias blinked hard, tears slid down his cheeks. I don't deserve it, he whispered. Probably not, I said. But forgiveness isn't about deserving. It's about choosing not to carry the weight anymore. He nodded, silently. When I left the prison that day, the air outside felt different. Lighter. I stood in the parking lot for a long time, watching the sun burn through thick clouds. It wasn't a dramatic moment, no angels, no sudden peace. Just a quiet knowing that something inside me had changed. That I could finally breathe without the bitterness sitting in my chest like cement. Months later, I was invited to speak at a community panel, a program that brought together victims of violent crimes and former offenders. I almost said no. But Tiago's face wouldn't let me. When it was my turn to speak, I stood in front of strangers and said, My name is Marcus. I lost my brother to a senseless act of violence. I spent a year wanting revenge. Wanting the world to hurt as much as I did. But it didn't bring him back. It only broke me more. So I chose something harder. I chose forgiveness. Not because he asked for it. But because I needed to live again. There was silence in the room. Then someone clapped, and then another. Later that night, I stood by Tiago's grave again. Same cheap beer in hand. I forgave him, I said. Can you believe that, Mano? The wind picked up, soft and warm. I think you'd be proud. I sat in the grass, and for the first time in over a year, I smiled. Not because it didn't hurt anymore. But because the hurt finally had somewhere to go.